Hey there. Good evening. At least it's evening in Tasmania. I should actually be making dinner right now, but I just wanted to do an update. It's not going to be a long one, but just following the Hillcrest Primary School tragedy that happened last week. I just wanted to update some additional things that have happened. Hi, Scout. Where's my sunny bum? I think she might be in the loo right now. She's wandering around somewhere. Um, so yeah, I thought I'd just do a bit of an update because, of course, some of you were with me this morning when I was driving into work, and sadly, another child lost their life on the weekend. Yesterday, Chace Harrison, an 11-year-old, his family made the very difficult decision to turn off his life support. So we now have 6 children who lost their lives in that awful, awful, awful. Tasmania is still pushing that away from my face. I was a bit close. Still in shock. Hey, Francesca, how are you, darling? It's just so sad, and I do have some news. I was mentioning in my live this morning that one of my colleagues, her nephew, is still in hospital following it. He's still in a medically induced coma, but the doctors are saying that they're going to bring him out of it. He's got a broken pelvis, back injuries, and also major kidney damage. He's probably going to have to go to Melbourne to have an operation regarding the pelvis and will be in a wheelchair for about 6 months while he heals, and then he's going to have to learn how to walk again. Hey, AJ. Good to see you, Gorge. Hi, Deb. It is dreadful, and yeah, there's another child. I don't know any details about the other child who's still in very critical condition, fighting for his or her life at the moment. But, I mean, it's kind of positive news, I think, for Declan, and hopefully if they bring him out of the coma, he'll, be able to at least, I mean, who knows what sort of life he's got ahead of him. It's horrible. It's just horrible. It's horrible. So I thought I'd just do a little update of what's been going on. Like I said, it's only a really quick live. I need to make some dinner in a minute. I'm just having a little salad, so it doesn't matter if I have that at 8 o'clock. I had quite a big lunch. But I'll just add to the stream this little article because I always think it's better to just run through the news. I really love the ABC website, as a lot of you know. I am looking at the article at the moment, but I'll jump back over to Chattanooga every now and then. But I do love, with all of the reporting, they've had this constant list of different resources for people to call, with Lifeline, Kids Helpline, Men's Line Australia, the Suicide Callback Service, Beyond Blue, Headspace, and Q Life. And there's been a lot of articles published about how to, I'm just putting Chase's photo up. I didn't like it when it wasn't fully on the screen. That's the latest victim. He unfortunately passed away yesterday. His family had to make that horrible decision to turn off his life support. One of the things that Declan's family is really concerned about is not only when he comes out of the coma, the massive battle he's got ahead of him, but also learning that his best mates died. You can't even imagine. Plus the 40 kids who witnessed it, and there's been a lot of very proactive people who've been organising all sorts of things. A lot of counsellors and psychologists got up to the northwest of Tassie very quickly, but they've actually flown some forensic psychologists in from New South Wales, and even with the police having to conduct the investigation alongside WorkSafe Tasmania, they're very mindful of the kids and what they witnessed, so they're being very, very gentle with how they're investigating because they don't want to add to these kids' trauma. So it's all been done very well and very carefully. Yeah, thank you, AJ. Yeah, lots of prayers for the recoveries of the children fighting and for their families and the doctors treating them all. So yeah, precious little Chace. It is still very shocking. Like, I wanted to do this little update and I'm really struggling. I'm taking myself off the screen too. Their faces just, it's really weird. I don't normally, you see kids out and about and you're just like, there's kids out and about. I keep seeing kids everywhere that are around that age, 11 or 12, and I just think, my God, it's really hitting home. I mean, I didn't have children, but just seeing kids the same age and these beautiful lives that were cut short so tragically. And I will be following the story because I want to know the outcome of the investigation. Um, I do think, weirdly, and maybe I spoke to my work colleague today about it, the one with the nephew in hospital, and for some reason I feel like if it is deemed that it was a freak weather incident, not that it's going to lessen the grief or the pain, but it might be easier to reconcile than if it's a negligence situation. Because with negligence, you always, I think, live with the deep, intense sadness that they were lives that were lost that shouldn't have been lost. But if it's a freak weather incident, then that's just I don't know. For some reason, I feel like that will give people a bit more comfort. Um, oh, thank you, AJ. I didn't want to play any sad music or anything like that because it's also today's the anniversary of being there. Who a lot of you knew her. She was a bit of a YouTube character, a massive YouTube character. But another friend of mine, Bib, died of ovarian cancer a couple of years ago on this day as well. So it's a bit of a. I haven't been glum or anything all day, but yeah, it's kind of a day. I'll put it that way. I think so too, Francesca. I didn't know how to word it without sounding. I don't want to sound callous because at the end of the day, it's still horrific. But I just feel like even with Gabby Petito, I feel like her parents are always going to be haunted by that horrible video of her with Brian and the police, and just that was the critical moment where her life could have been saved. I don't know if they're investigating what happened. I don't know if the police handled it incorrectly. They might have followed whatever protocol they had at the time, but clearly it needs to be improved. And I said from very early on with Gabby Petito, I've always had this gut feeling that her death won't be in vain, that it will bring about changes, and it might bring about changes to protocols with family violence and domestic violence situations. But, watching that video as an outsider and thinking this is the critical moment, and her family are always going to be tormented by that, I think. Yeah, 1 year ago, our darling Mem left us. So, yeah, loved ones are always close even after they pass. And look, being there, who I don't know if you were around on my channel, Deb, when my friend Mem was still around, but she was such a hoot. And whenever Mel and I stub our toes or bang a funny bone or anything like that, we just picture her laughing her head off at us because she was that kind of person. What have you thrown in chat? I need to go to YouTube and see what that is. Oh, hugs. AJ, you're gorgeous. I've never seen that emoji before. Hugs to everyone who wants to accept one today. Whatever you're going through, no, you're not alone. That's lovely. You're a sweetheart. Everyone's a sweetheart. You haven't been able to watch the whole video. The one that Mel made? Yeah, she did. She asked me if I was working, and a lot of you know that I've lost a lot of friends since I've been on YouTube, but a year or two before I came onto YouTube, I had a Christmas where I lost 6 friends in 3 weeks, all around my age. Well, not all. My godmother and my host mother in America were 2 of them, but it was a really horrible time. And then since then, I had my friend Bib, who was incredibly close with my best friend, and his grief for her still just breaks my heart every time we talk about her. And then another really good friend of mine, Louie, died in December 2 years ago. It's just a lot. Oh, the potato. It is. I agree. It is way too hard to watch. Her parents, it will haunt them forever. But, everyone's got their stories, but it's just, I've lost a lot of friends, but there was one year leading into Christmas. It was just like every day I woke up, I felt like there was another person. It was awful. So Mel did a video about Mem, because I do try to mark anniversaries, but kind of quietly. And December, because there's just so many. I have, Francesca, but I'm one of those people. I've travelled the world and lived in lots of different places and gone to different universities and worked in lots of different pubs and stayed in touch. I've got to, and even when I did breakfast radio, I made friends. Well, Deb, in fact, I got to know from that. And I've just kind of always worked comedy, like the areas that I work in. You do get connected to a lot of people, but yeah, I've had a bad this year. Even just, I've lost 2 friends recently that I haven't even spoken about on YouTube, because I was like, it's just getting to a point where I'll just process it privately. But anyway, this is about the Hillcrest kids. But big love to anyone who it's such a hard time of year, because on the one hand, the sort of festive joy side of it, when you're in that mood, it's a great mood. It is. And, when you're all getting together and having amazing food and catching up, it can be a really great time of the year. But there's always this really sad aspect to it as well. It's tough. So hugs that AJ threw out there, not just for the people in chat right now, but also the world over. I do, Francesca, but the number's going down. Sorry. My gallows humour, I'm sorry. I feel bad. I should have done that. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm glad for everyone that I've met throughout my life. I'm very sad for the ones who've moved on, but I'm so grateful I met them. I'll be blowing kisses to the sky heading into 2022, because, of course, Biscuit died this year, and so did my gorgeous friend Birdie, and it's just been a year, really. But these families are going through hell right now. There's really no other way to describe it. So this darling little 11-year-old Chace Harrison passed away yesterday. It's quite weird thinking this only happened Thursday last week, not even a week ago. It's like the world's just, time's just stood still in a way. Yes, hugs for the universe. So Chace had his life support turned off yesterday afternoon. But also yesterday, a child who survived, but he broke both of his wrists. He actually got thrown out of it as it was taking off, so he didn't fall out. But he actually visited the site yesterday. He's the one who was released from hospital a couple of days ago. So now 6 children have lost their lives. For those of you who watch this video later who may not know about it, last Thursday here in Tasmania, in a beautiful little coastal town called Devonport, it was the last day of a primary school. They had a little celebration planned with things on the school oval, including a jumping castle. According to witnesses, there was this freak gust of wind that picked ripped, in fact, the body of it, the main part of the castle, off the base and the things that they had used to anchor it was still on the ground. This wind gust ripped the top part of the castle off and left the base on the ground. That information has come out. Anyway, it went 10 metres or 30 feet into the air, and children fell out. And sadly, 6 of them have lost their lives. There were 40 kids who witnessed it. There were teachers. Many of the first responders were on their first day at work. They'd graduated as police cadets. It was their first day of work, and this is what they had to attend. And there's still 2 children in critical condition in hospital, but send out lots of positive vibes for both of them. One of them sounds like he's fortunately doesn't have any neurological injuries, which most of them did have, and it sounds like he's got a very long road to recovery ahead of him. But hopefully the other child is in a similar situation. Yeah, they were finishing primary school, heading off to big school next year. So this little dude here, Bo, he visited the site, and both of his arms in bandages, and he was there with his mum, and they laid gifts of gaming controllers and soft teddies in memory of his friends. I saw this little kid being interviewed, and he spoke about how, he's survived it, and this kid's got survivor's guilt already. But also he speaks about how, in fact, I'll play this little grab, I'm not sure what it is, but he does talk about in one of the interviews how his best mates have all died, which is just heartbreaking. Be very scary going back to the scene. But yeah. Oh, the police graduate. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. That photo that really kind of resonated with so many people of the 2 young female police officers sitting on the bank of a hill just crying and holding each other. That came out the day after. I haven't had a chance to go live up until now, but that information came out the next day that quite a few of them, it was their first day on the job, which is just so sad. Darren Hine, our police commissioner, who's fabulous, has just been around the clock providing updates and support for the families, and he's been incredible. And of course, there's these 40 kids who witnessed it. They've all got a long road ahead of them as well. Here in the article, it mentions that interstate help is on the way as officers continue to investigate the incident. Given the magnitude of this critical incident and the need to speak to a large number of traumatised children within a short period of time, we've accepted an offer from New South Wales Police to assist in conducting interviews, and 4 forensic child interviewers travelled here today to help with that. That's our police commissioner. But Devonport is still reeling in horror, as is, the country and people around the world. A GoFundMe that was started up by a girl in Devonport who doesn't have any connections to the school has now gone past $1.3 million. A local credit union called My State has also started a fund, and the girl that created the GoFundMe has decided to transfer all of the money that's been made on the GoFundMe into this credit union because they've got a much better set up to handle that amount of money. There was an anonymous donor, I think today or yesterday, who donated $45,000. Yeah. Survivor's guilt is a very difficult thing to deal with. And there's a lot of stories coming out too about kids who wanted to get in the jumping castle, but they already had the maximum number of kids. So they were told to, they were in the next round. They must be feeling horrible. There was a story of one kid that was meant to be in the jumping castle, but his little baby sister was playing up and he had to help his mum. So that, that kids like that with stories like that are going to need a lot of help as well. There's a lot of photos that we'll have a look at in a minute, but there's a real sort of like memorial shrine kind of thing being set up at the school with people just arriving to leave flowers and cards and all sorts of tributes. But obviously being a primary school and a horrible incident involving children, there's a lot of teddy bears and it's really heartbreaking. Today, a relative of one of the students was seen hugging a tree at the location where the inflatable equipment eventually came to rest. Paramedic staff have also visited the site where the jumping castle became airborne, but the circumstances of the tragedy and whether proper precautions were followed is still being investigated. And here are the faces of the 6 children, which is just, when the first photo came out, I think on Thursday or maybe on Friday, it was Zane, who's the little boy on the top right. And you just look at his face and just think, this is just so, so sad and so tragic. But just so you know who the victims are, the first boy up on the top left is the one who died yesterday. That's 11-year-old Chace Harrison. In the middle is a girl called Jalailah Jones. She was the 5th victim to die. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to survive the injuries she sustained. She also, she's 12. Then next to her on the top right is Zane Mellor, 12 years old. And then in the bottom row, the girl in the left bottom is Addison Stewart. She was 11. Next to her is Jye Sheehan, age 12, and then Peter Dodt, or Dodt, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Dodt, 12. A doctor from the hospital made a statement about the hospital running out of blood. Devonport people are donating blood now. They're saying they'll do anything to help. People loving people. Yeah, there's been... It doesn't surprise me, and you've lived here, AJ, and Deb's Tasmanian too. Like, the sense of community here is so strong, and the outpourings of love and help have been incredible. I shared the link to the GoFundMe on my Facebook page because so many people on Thursday, Friday were just, and still now, are numb. But when people want to help, sometimes something like a GoFundMe, that's, they can't find the words or anything like that, but just donating money makes them feel like they're helping. But somebody put a comment about, no amount of money will bring these children back. And I was like, why is there always one person that just has to be so negative? I mean, I shared the link because people were being asked to, and they've now raised in excess of 1.3 million. And no, it's not going to bring the children back, but if it means that they're not stressing about funeral costs, looking after their other children, like even today, my colleague was saying her nephew, because of the trauma, won't be going back to Hillcrest, but neither will his siblings. And just moving kids to a new school costs money, and down the track, it might mean these families are able to go away and have a nice little break and some respite. I agree. I think donations always help. And I think for people too who want to help, it's an obvious thing for people to do. And everyone was just kind of numb, and just knowing that these families are not going to have to worry about money with everything they're going through is incredible. No, they won't be able to work for a while. And a lot of these kids have got siblings, and life does go on. And these parents will want to be around their children and protecting them and helping them through this, as well as their own issues. Like, it's, if it's covering the cost of counselling for the rest of their lives, then great. If they don't have to find that money, awesome. I won't go through the incident again in detail. It's too damning. Well, there's all of the names that I just mentioned and their ages. But yeah, this is the tributes that are piling up. I'll play this video. I think these are like raw footage clips, which is oh, that dear little boy. There was a message from another school in Tassie, Triabunna. I quite like raw footage when you're able to just look and think, and they don't have a newsreader sort of covering the story again. Like, it's quite what's the word? It's very moving. There's a bit more details again about the incident, the end of year celebration, and yes, Tasmania Police, WorkSafe Tasmania. They're sort of like a body who look into work accidents and injuries, and they've got all of the sort of right kind of investigators to look into events like this as well. Together with the coroner, they started the investigation the day it happened, but it is expected to take quite some time, so I may not be doing an update again for a while. There's that photo of the two police officers, and they're very young. They're quite possibly two that had literally started their new jobs. It was their first day at work. I love that there's been a lot of outpouring of support for all of the emergency services as well. It is lovely, Scout. It is. It's just too horrific to even still even fathom that this could have happened. Lots of love hearts. This little classroom with the teddy bears that was put at the site is really touching and moving, and there's little fairy lights on each desk, so I don't know whether someone goes and lights them at night or whatever, but it's a pretty God, I've got a word in my mind and I just can't keep finding it when I want to say it. It's just so sad, isn't it, guys? There has been an outpouring of grief and a flood of support from all over the country. The Australian Football League, which is the AFL, two teams, Hawthorn and Richmond, are playing a pre-season match in Tassie up in the northwest in March. and they're going to raise funds for the victims and the wider community, and there'll be a huge turnout for that. We love our footy, so that's really lovely, and it's lovely that it's happening in March. Like, the support is going to be ongoing. It's not just this sort of, it'll be forgotten once Christmas arrives kind of thing. But I love these tributes too to the emergency services as well. Now, I do want to just go to this article. This was on Saturday, but jumping castles have been banned in Tasmanian schools following the tragedy. This is the jumping castle that was supplied to Hillcrest Primary School. This is actually the jumping castle that was used that day. Tasmania's Education Department has issued a memo to all staff banning inflatable equipment from all school sites following this week's tragic incident at Hillcrest Primary School, which we now unfortunately know it actually claimed 6 lives. The ban, I'll put that up a bit. The ban also applies to all companies or groups who hire Department of Education properties and will remain in place indefinitely. The witnesses continue to give evidence about a wind gust. Someone even described it as being like a cyclone, a tiny cyclone. Unfortunately, because of Chace Harrison losing his life yesterday, this is already out of date, but I think it's pretty interesting that they acted very quickly to ban the jumping castles. They're the little victims again. Look at their faces. You just think, you poor little things. What a horrible way to die, but also they all had the world at their feet, you know. They had lives to live. It's just insanely cruel. A bit more of information about the investigation. They're saying here they're looking at whether the jumping castle was tethered before the incident occurred. But and this particular model of jumping castle is also going to be looked at. These are the Zorb balls that were also there that you get inside, and they got blown up into the air as well, but there's still no confirmation about whether or not there were kids in them at the time. But witnesses have said that the base of the jumping castle was still anchored to the oval. It was still on the ground. So it was like the top of it ripped away. And if the wind gust went straight in the opening and lifted it up, because that's basically what happened. It got sort of picked up and tore, like the wind got into it and it went straight up pretty much, which is how the kids all fell out. Are they considering an act of God or faulty equipment? They are investigating it. I mean, that's what the investigation will decide. But I am hoping it was an act of God, or, you know, an act of nature, not faulty equipment or negligence. I mean, it was definitely anchored. That's the word on the streets. But you know, if it was old and starting to, you know, canvas doesn't live forever. You know, were they potentially negligent? Was the school negligent putting it up on this oval that was prone to wind gusts? I mean, there'll be a lot of stuff they'll be looking into. But, you know, the Zorb balls got lifted up into the air too, and they're not tethered. That this gust of wind had a lot of power behind it. I didn't read the story about Peter's mum. Just flown into Tassie days before the accident after not seeing him for 12 months due to COVID. Precious time with him just before. Oh, I'm so glad that they got that time together. I mean, I've read about his dad, who's essentially raising the 3 kids as a single dad. But no, I'm really glad that she got to spend that time with him. But I'm also absolutely devastated that she's now got to say goodbye to him at a funeral. I can't even imagine what they're all going through. And they've got other kids that still need love and attention, and and they're still going to have to try to do something sort of Christmassy. They've got other kids, little kids. I don't think they're going to do Christmas is cancelled, which is kind of what happened to my grandmother when her little brother died at Christmas time. Her parents just put an end to Christmas pretty much. Whereas I'd imagine, like Zane's mother was interviewed and she said, "Oh, I'm really glad that I spoiled him too much this year." Like, I thought it was such a sweet comment. I'm so glad I spoiled him more than I should have this year. And they'd already wrapped all the presents and they're under the tree. So they've opened some of his presents and sort of laid them out for him. But I just loved her saying, "I'm so glad I spoiled him." I mean, that's a really lovely comment. Even though her son has died, she was just so glad that she went a bit over the top with presents for him this year. It's quite incredible listening to what they're saying. Like, everything's just so raw and just genuine emotions. And she said she put up the Christmas tree with him. He was able to reach to put the star on the tree for the first time and was so proud of himself. Me too, Deb. It's just, I mean, we've got so interesting. Our borders have opened and we've got COVID cases in the island for the first time, more than we've had since a cluster in this very early 2020. As of midnight tonight, masks are mandated, even indoors. And, you think the whole state would be going nuts. And people are just like, this is just way more important at the moment. Everyone's way more looking out for each other. I've been given more hugs and giving more hugs in the last few days because of this than I have in the whole year. And now we've got COVID in the state. Everyone's got to be really strict with, social distancing and all the rest of it. But I think everyone got a few cheeky hugs in before we realised there were COVID cases in the state. Which is why I kind of wanted to do this live too, because it's really important that we all keep processing it together and talking about it. And I do want to follow the story and at least let everyone know what the outcome of the investigation is, but it is going to take a long time. There's not going to be any outcome soon, which I think is probably a good thing too. I think at the moment the families, they being able to grieve and have people supporting them and helping through Christmas and all of that sort of stuff is way more important. Okay, so with these jumpy castles, right? So this one here, which is the model that was at the school, anything higher than 3 meters has to be registered. And the Tasmanian regulator says whether this particular castle was registered will also form part of the investigation, as will weather conditions at the time. So this is the castle in question. Crayon Playland. You can see there's like a little slide up the side of it. So I guess they go in there maybe, and there's probably some way they could climb up and then come down the slide. And whether who knows? We'll find out more as time goes on, but that's the one in question. Operators of jumping castles in Australia are also bound by national standards. Those guidelines call for inflatables to be evacuated when wind gusts exceed the manufacturer's guidelines or are more than 40 kilometres per hour. But the thing is, if this was a freak act of nature and this really powerful gust of wind came out of nowhere, there's no way they would have been able to evacuate in time. An amusement park safety specialist says it has highlighted the need for all inflatable inflatable devices to be routinely inspected. So you've got to wonder if the canvas had fatigued and if that was part of the problem as well. That's the deflated castle with a police officer walking near it. KidSafe Tasmania, an organisation that seeks to promote education and preventative measures against childhood injuries, also wants to meet with the government and stakeholders to discuss future implications. But here's a bit about what happened. Eyewitness reports to Tasmania Police have said a wind event and a gust led to the incident. The nearest Weather Bureau monitoring site, 10 kilometres away at Devonport Airport, didn't record anything out of the ordinary. And we've talked about this before, like this town, Devonport, is known to have these little sort of, they sometimes get called willy willies. They're like little mini tornado-y kind of winds. And 10 kilometres away doesn't mean anything to me. Like, they're not whirly-whirlies, they get called as well, but probably I think whirly-whirlies is the more PC version now, but they used to be called willy-willies. We used to see them driving up the Midlands, like going across paddocks. They're like little mini tornadoes. But 10 kilometres away, like if you're driving up the Midlands and you see a whirly-whirly crossing a paddock on the Midlands, nothing 10 k's away is going to necessarily pick it up. They're kind of small and very focused on, where they are. They're not like it's not like a cyclone that you would pick up 10 k's away. So yeah, Anna Forrest from the Bureau of Meteorology sort of saying nothing out of the ordinary was indicated on the day. In fact, 22 kilometres an hour was the strongest wind, but while there was nothing abnormal reported at the airport, obviously it had horrible consequences for the site. Oh, this is an internal shot. So I reckon over here on the left, there'd be like inflatable steps that you'd go up, and then you come out the top and go out the slide. But if the wind came in through here, and that's not a massive opening, but it's also got to be big enough for kids to get through. It's hard to tell with the proportions and so on. Interesting. Lots of Omni in Melbourne and Sydney. Oh, I know. What were they saying today? There'll be 25,000 new cases a day of this variant. And we've got a lot of cases already in Tassie. I'll get the latest update. We had 10 active cases. There's been someone with it down near where I live. There's a lot of shops. When I take you guys into Sorel, a lot of the places, including Coles Supermarket, are all, they're low risk, but there were people with this variant there in the last few days. So as of midnight tonight, 1 second past midnight, we're all whacking on our masks. I grabbed a couple yesterday. I went to a little makers market with my friend Gina and grabbed a couple more because they're really becoming a fashion accessory. You have to make sure you've got ones that match your outfits, guys. We just haven't needed them, so everyone's going nuts, going, oh my God, I better go and get some masks. So where's the latest news on that? But yeah, it is part of the plan is to let it into the state, but we all feel they should have maybe waited till after Christmas because there's a lot of people now that will be in quarantine at Christmas. Here in New York have restrictions because of age, height. For the jumping car, yeah, I think we've got similar ones here. Still, yeah, well, masks were on and out and about in Hobart today, and it'll probably be a long-term thing. We're now going to be a mask-wearing place, but, as of tomorrow, the office where I work, everyone has to wear masks indoors, as well as, off to the gym or wherever. Unless you're doing vigorous exercise or eating or drinking, you've got to have your masks on. So, oh, Ruth, how are you, Ruth? I saw something about the UK today, and I was like, Jesus, it's just full on. But yeah, the feeling here is like, could you maybe have just waited till after Christmas, New Year? Because Tassie, we get so many tourists, and because we've had no COVID here, everyone's like, oh, let's go to Tassie over Christmas. I mean, I know people that are meant to be coming here from Melbourne in just between Christmas and they're here for a week between Christmas and New Year's. Hey, Casper, how are you doing, Groover? Actually, that's what I did want to show you. Let me just get this up. It's pretty beautiful. We'll end with this. Pretty touching. Hopefully there's some photos. Of course, every photo is behind a friggin' paywall news site. I'm going to keep looking. You just chat amongst yourselves and give each other some loves. I'm trying to think where I found it or saw it. Oh, bloody paywalls. I'm not paying for our newspaper. Our daily rag. I refuse to pay for it. Where did I see it? I just thought I'd share this because a lot of you have come on many an adventure to this event with me. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it might have been on Facebook. Let me see. How you all doing in chat? You're having a spa. Very nice. Yeah, stay safe, Ruth. Stay safe, everyone, everywhere. It's not the most positive of things for you to have to be listening to. Casper, I do apologise. Let me see if I can find it. If they put a picture up on their page. Let's see. No, they haven't. Okay, well, anyway, I'll find a stock photo. I can't remember which article I saw, and I was like, that's so touching as well. But down here in the south, many of you know we've got Mona, which is the Museum of Old and New Art, and during their festivals they light here we go, there's a photo on Trends Map, I think. they've got an installation called Spectra, and they turn it on during the two festivals. So we've got Dark Mofo in winter, and a lot of you have come with me on little outings to Dark Mofo. But then in summer, they've got Monofoma, which is the Festival of Music and Art, and they only turn this Spectra on during the festivals so that everyone knows there's a festival going on, but they lit it for the children. And it's unbelievable. Have a look at this, guys. I'm just going to... So last night, the Museum of Old and New Art, Mona in Hobart, paid tribute to the lives of the children lost in this tragic accident. Spectra shines 15 kilometres into the sky. It was a touching tribute. And I'll zoom in a bit because it's that's these buildings here. This is the museum. All of these buildings where all the lights are, they're all part of the museum. The museum itself is a work of art, and then obviously the blue lights of Spectra, and they go 15 k's up into the sky. But it was also an incredibly calm night, so they reflected beautifully down on the water as well. And everyone was very moved. The other thing that was really interesting was the sunset on Thursday after this incident happened was unbelievable. Like, people went nuts about this incredible sunset. I mean, a lot of them didn't sort of make the connection, but I was like, yeah, that's probably the universe just trying to give someone give people a bit of love. But isn't that incredible? So beautiful. And how still it was and how it's reflected on the water. And if you guys ever come to Tassie, you've got to go to Mona. It's amazing. But, yeah, what a beautiful thing for them to do. Very, very touching. So that might be a good night for us to end on. A beautiful Jessie. It is, Francesca. It is an amazing place to visit. Just beautiful. Yep. Beautiful. So it was kind of special because we all absolutely love it when Spectra's lit. My dad died during Dark Mofo, and the day that he died, my partner at the time, Jim, and I went home, and we were just so exhausted. Like, Dad died really early in the morning, but because he was a federal politician, a very well-known Tasmanian, the story broke at midday on all the media, and it was a really full-on day. And Jim and I got home, and we had this little deck off our apartment. We sort of were in this apartment. It was on the roof of an old house. It was pretty gorgeous, and we sat there with a glass of red wine each and just looked at Spectra. And every year now, when Spectra gets lit during Dark Mofo, I have a little moment for my dad. But yes, it's an incredible art installation. It's unbelievably beautiful. And when you zoom in on it, you can see the individual beams. I can't zoom anymore. But there's individual beams down here, and they just sort of all end up being a big blue ray of light. It's pretty gorgeous. So that was very special of them to do that. Yeah, the sunset was insane. I wish I'd taken photos, but I was actually live with you guys and I could see it happening, but I was so focused on trying to talk without being a bawling mess. But I don't know if anyone got any photos. Actually, give me 1 second before I end this. I'll see if I can find a photo, because my local community group puts up a lot of photos, and let's see if there are any photos of the sunrise from the other night, Thursday night. A sunset, not sunrise. I keep saying sunrise. I meant sunset. I'm just scrolling. There's the search feature. I'll type in sunset. But yeah, it felt like Mother Nature just went, actually, you people need something pretty to see. to feel. And the other thing that was really gorgeous too was they put they encourage everyone to put candles outside their house, like on the footpaths or on the edge of their driveways, and houses all over Tasmania took photos of 5 candles sitting outside their homes, which was very heartbreaking, but it was a beautiful gesture as well. I mean, there's some pretty amazing sunset photos, but I'm seeing if there's one on the actual day. Oh, I forgot the timeline changes with, when people participate on threads. It's not like you can just scroll down in date order. I might just find you a photo of it. There's a photo of a sunset on the 12th or the 10th of December, which would have been similar. Here we go. The sun sets on a day to remember 5 new little angels. It's a caption. I'm trying to expand it so I don't accidentally dox anyone. So that was Spectra, and then these are some photos of the sunset that night. And we'll end with this. It was breathtaking. Yeah, a hug from the universe. That's the words I was trying to find. The sun sets on a day to remember 5 new little angels. Look at it. And there's other photos floating around, I'm sure, but it was just like, wow. We get beautiful sunrises and sunsets here, but this one there was something very sort of heavenly and angelic about it. Even like sort of these beams, it's almost like they're sort of heading up to heaven or something. I mean, I'm not religious, but yeah, it's kind of got that sort of heavenly, and there's just these beautiful colours on the water and pretty amazing. So, yeah. There we go. Yeah, it really did feel like a hug for all Tasmanians. My hubby and I and my neighbours put blue lights in love and tribute for the children. Oh, and the angel ornaments on your... Oh, Scout, bless you, darling. You are such a sweetheart. I love that you did that. I loved your message where you said, New York is thinking of you all in Tasmania as well. That was so lovely. Thank you, beautiful. Hey, Veruca. Isn't it? I'm getting teary. She's just the sweetest thing. Lovely Scout Inquirer. Hi, Sarita. Hagen, Ruth. Yeah, so that was the sunset on the 16th of December with the 5 little angels, but sadly now 6 with little Chace Harrison yesterday, his family having to make that awful decision to turn off his life support. So anyway, I've gone way longer than I planned. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in. I did want to give you guys an update because I'm a finisher and I couldn't leave it without giving you the update. But I think the next time I do go live about this will be when the investigation results are handed down, and send out lots of positive vibes that the other 2 children who are still in hospital make it through. One of them that I'm sort of loosely connected to has got a very long road ahead of him, but yeah, send out lots and lots of lovely vibes. Hey, Ozzy. Thank you, darling. Yeah, look, it's just, I was saying earlier before you came in, like we've got COVID in the state for the first time in a long time, apart from a couple of isolated incidents, and we've all got mandated mask wearing kicking in at midnight. And everybody's still just stunned about this horrible, horrible incident. And, you know, it's still just, people just can't find the words. But there's been a huge outpouring of love and support. There's now well in excess of $2 million that's been donated through various different GoFundMes. The government donated $800,000, which, you know, it's not going to bring these babies back, but it is hopefully going to alleviate the family, or at least relieve them of some pressures that they just do not need to be worrying about right now. Thank you so much, Ruth and Francesca, for hanging out, and AJ and Sarita, Scout Inquirer. That was a beautiful gesture for you to do that for our little angels. 52 cases today. Yeah, the last figure for Tassie was 10, but some of them were just down the road from me. But I'm all right. Yeah, it is heartbreaking. There really are still no words. But that sunset and that beautiful spectra that Mona did, it's lovely that we've all rallied together and we're helping this community, and it's lovely the outpouring of love that's coming in from around the world. And Scout, I'll go out of my way to let people know what you did, because that's just so touching to think that on the other side of the world that you did that. It was unbelievable of you to do that. You beautiful, beautiful human. Thank you, Tora. You've paid these children and their families so much respect and empathy in covering this. You have a beautiful heart. It's important to pay tribute and honour their short lives. It is, AJ. It is, for sure. And thank you and also thank you to your husband, who taught at Hillcrest Primary School and was helping you and giving information for me when I went live last week. Like, it must have been quite a hard thing for him to do. And the fact that you've got so many friends up there, I really appreciated your generosity of coming into the chat and giving all of that information and just being so lovely as well. So thank you. That meant a lot. That's a lovely message from Scout to sign off on for our family here. Yep, our beautiful community. May you all have, we'll say, peace, love and light, and may you all stay safe and healthy. Big hugs and kisses to our beautiful Sunny girl. Sunny. She's like, she lifted up one ear and you can see she's just going, what? I might go and make a little salad and have a bit of TV time, which isn't TV time. I put on music. I turn the TV on and mute it and put music on because I don't really like TV. But she comes and sits on my lap in that chair and I give her a head massage and stuff like that. So thank you so much for all of your beautiful, kind hearts and for hanging out. And stay safe, everyone. We're all on this planet that's just being haunted by a very smart virus that keeps evolving. We're all very connected. So, yeah, love to everybody. Take care. Oh, Francesca, have a look on my Traces of Nuts community page. I put a photo of Sunny up. She finally posed for me with that resting bitch face. Night, Casper. Enjoy your spa, Groover. Until next time, beautiful Groovers, Tori and Sunny, take care and God bless. Love you guys heaps. Love a wombat. All right, on that note, it's good to have a little laugh after a heavy topic. See you all again very, very soon. Lots of love, guys.